you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, how are you, my friend?
Excellent, Jimmy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm almost through the week. Looking forward to a little weekend in Montreal and getting up there to see some old friends. But before that, we've got a lot of hockey to talk about, Pierre. And we will be focused on the Utah Hockey Club for the first time. We have a Utah Hockey Club guest joining us today. She covers the Utah Hockey Club for the Salt Lake Tribune, and that's Belle Fraser. Got to know her a little bit when she was covering the Bruins and working as she was a student at BU over the last few years. She's a great writer, does a great job. So looking forward to speaking to her in a bit. But before we get to that, Pierre, lots of news around the NHL. We'll start off the way we did yesterday with the latest updated news on Connor McDavid. It appears that he has avoided serious injury. He'll be out at least 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury, they're saying now, but it doesn't look as bad as people feared in the beginning, Pierre. So just your take on that.
Well, I think it's bad because he's going to miss a lot of time. So what I did today and what I used to do when I was either coaching or managing and working for teams, I break down the schedule and the amount of time that the player could potentially be out. So let me read you their schedule, okay?
Okay.
At Nashville, at Calgary, home to New Jersey, home to Vegas, at Vancouver, home to the Islanders, home to Nashville, at Toronto, at Montreal, at Ottawa. This is when I think he could be home on November, or home to play, November 21st. If they do it the right way, November 21st, they play home versus Minnesota, then they're home against the Rangers, and they don't play again for another week when they're at Utah. So that's probably where you see him coming back, either the 21st, the 23rd of November, or the 29th. But let's just say he misses 10 games. Let's just say he does. 20 points in the standings. Let's say they go 500. Okay, let's just say, so they get 10 out of 20 points. Here's what's a problem. Arvidsson, 0 goals. Hyman, 0 goals. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 1 goal. Skinner, 2 goals. You following what I'm saying?
I am.
They're in trouble, man. Everybody says, "Oh, it's not a big deal. He's only going to be out 2 to 3 weeks." Oh, this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big deal. And if Draisaitl can't carry the mail there for them, they got a big problem.
Well, they're approaching that Thanksgiving mark, the American Thanksgiving mark, where, if you're not in good shape by then, you're usually not making the playoffs. Pierre, I guess when I say I'm just looking at what it could have been is why I was saying it wasn't as bad.
Oh, no, that I agree with, but that's why I played off the other way. And so what you're saying is not wrong, because it could have been far worse. Probably season ending for Edmonton.
Yeah.
Probably. Seriously.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying in the offseason when everybody was hailing the Oilers for the moves they were making, and you said they were redundant, I think was the word you used.
I did.
And you look at it now, and that's coming to fruition right now because, when you're a team like the Edmonton Oilers, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Pierre, you got 2 guys that it revolves around with Draisaitl and McDavid, but you want to, as we said, and as Scotty said in our season preview, the teams that win are the teams with depth. This is why you need the depth, because things like this can happen. It's a part of a hockey season, and it's going to happen. So now they're looking around, I bet, saying, whoa, what did we do here? Why didn't we address this in the offseason? And they can look as much as they want on the trade market right now. But, you were a Stanley Cup finalist last year. You have arguably the 2 best, but definitely 2 of the top 5 players in the NHL. No GM's going to want to throw you a life jacket right now, and look to help you. So you're going to have to pay a high price if you're looking to find a stopgap here. So they're just going to have to depend on what they have internally, I would think.
Well, they will. No, they will. Let's not forget too. Go look at the numbers for Ryan McLeod in Buffalo. They didn't think they needed Ryan McLeod, so he goes in the Skinner deal. And then you look at the defense. Mm-hmm. Desharnais is playing in Vancouver.
Yep, Broberg's in St. Louis.
Cody Cece's out in San Jose. So, look at Broberg. Broberg's having an amazing year down in St. Louis. Holloway scored the other night for now. You know what I think? St. Louis is working hard. They're trying to make the most of what they have. And when they lost Robert Thomas for a while, that's going to be a big problem for them. So, and I'm not saying Robert Thomas is Connor McDavid.
No.
But he's as close to what Connor McDavid is for the St. Louis Blues.
Exactly. It's what he means to that team.
What's happening to them on this road trip? Okay, in Montreal and in Ottawa, they didn't get beat in Ottawa. They got shellacked, blackjack shellack.
Yeah.
Okay, they got smoked, and that's just the start of things. So all I'm saying is, Edmonton, for whatever reason, and it's way before Stan Bowman got there, way before Stan got there, they decided they didn't need to. And you know what? Go look at all the newspaper articles, Jimmy. Go look at all of them.
I already have.
And read what they said.
Yeah.
Okay? We're smarter than everybody else. We're the best team. We're this, we're that. And I'm going there. I'm not running with the herd on this one. I don't agree with anything they did.
Look, when I say this, Pierre, I got no beefs with anyone. I'm just telling it like I see it right now. I just don't understand why there seems to be Teflon around Jeff Jackson right now when it comes to the Edmonton media. Like, you got to call it for what it is. And this is his body of work right now. It's not, some of it's Ken Holland, but most of it's his work right now. He did the offseason. Jeff Jackson controlled the offseason. Stan Bowman got there. All that was done.
Yeah, where I'm upset on this is that, and I have nothing against Jeff. Like, he was a great agent.
But I'm tired of Stan Bowman getting hell. I'm tired of Kenny Holland getting hell.
That's all I'm saying. I'm standing up for Kenny Holland here. Okay? Yeah. I'm just telling you. Because I read all the stuff, just like you did, just like most of the fans did, especially if you're an Oilers fan. This isn't on Kenny Holland. Okay?
No.
There was a vision that they put in place that this is what we're going to do with our group. And now that McDavid's hurt, they got injuries. How about Colorado? Ross Colton gone 6 to 8 weeks. This is a huge story now.
You don't understand. Yeah, he was catching fire right before
we talked about him last week before he caught fire, Jimmy. We were talking about Ross Colton. He's a guy to watch. He's starting to come. And they were, he took advantage of an opportunity because Drouin wasn't playing, and they put him on a line with Nathan McKinnon. And he was flourishing, and he blocked the shot last night. Now he's gone 6 to 8 weeks. That's a long time. That's a long time. And, so I feel terrible for him. There was a lot that went on last night in the league.
Yeah.
Jimmy, things are heating up in your neck of the woods in Boston.
Yep.
Things are heating up in my neck of the woods in Montreal. Okay. I think things are starting to heat up on Long Island. They're going to Columbus tonight. And I'm telling you right now, they better not lose. They better not lose in Columbus tonight. And if they do lose, they better not get embarrassed the way Edmonton got embarrassed the other night.
Yeah, if they need any advice, they can call up the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's what happened last week when they went into Columbus.
Edmonton and Toronto both went into Columbus, and they got pulverized. Both of them.
You can say what you want about the lack of skill on Columbus's lineup right now. And look, we're not calling them a playoff team or a cup team or anything. But they're hard workers. They're not an easy out. So you can't just go in there and think, hey, we got this. They're not an easy out right now. I'm with you, Pierre. I want to get to Boston and Montreal in a bit because it's a bit more expansive, so to speak. There's a lot about that. But I just want to say one quick positive thing from last night. And we've already pumped their tires and will continue to do so as long as they deserve it. How about the Washington Capitals against the New York Rangers last night? What a game. That was a hell of a game. That was a playoff game.
There's a guy named Dylan McElrath. He was a 10th overall pick of the New York Rangers. The Rangers didn't. Now, way different management group.
This is a long time ago.
But Dylan has gone around. He's won 3 Calder Cups, 2 of them in Hershey, 1 of them in Grand Rapids. A kid, he's a battle. Now, he's a kid to me, but he's an older guy for a hockey player. Yeah. And we talked about him last week, did we not, Jimmy? And I told you about the script on his back. The old English script on his back and with his name. It's amazing. What a fight with Rempe.
And what did I do? Right away, I said, look, you called it. I mean, it was like right on script for what you were telling us about him. What a fight with Rempe. And I kind of feel bad for Rempe right now because he is getting it from Rangers fans.
Why?
I mean, what are you going to do? He
why are they giving it to him?
They're saying he's overrated and he's a waste of roster space and all this because It's 2 straight losses and fights and blah, 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 blah. Hey, they obviously don't know a lot about Dylan. They don't get a lot about Dylan. They don't know how tough this guy is. That was a heavyweight bout, and anyone that is in the game of hockey had to know that Rempe was in for it there. It wasn't going to be an easy bout just because of how big he is.
You know me. Jimmy's my social media person. I don't do it.
Yeah, he's getting slaughtered. It's horrible.
So all I'm going to say is this. Think about it if that was you on the ice doing that. Think about it if that was your child doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that's got the courage to even drop their gloves and try is not a waste of space.
No, exactly.
Jimmy, I've been involved in some of those, okay?
Yep.
And it requires a lot of courage.
Oh, yeah. You've seen the guys come back to the bench.
It requires a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of respect for Rempe. I have a ton of respect for McGuire. Anybody that does that job, it's thankless, it's vicious, it's barbaric, really.
Mm-hmm.
And for people to take runs at him, I did not know that, Jimmy. Thank you.
And ironically, too, just because
I feel bad for the kid. He doesn't deserve that. No way. No way.
And one thing I got to tell you too that I always found ironic, but in a good way, is these big tough guys going out there doing that, and they're mean and they're fighting. But you'll vouch for me, Pierre. Out of all the positions in hockey, all the roles in hockey, they seem to always be the nicest guys off the ice. They're like the salt of the earth. It's crazy.
They do so much for so many people, and they never tell anybody. So I'll just use an example. Matt Martin just got a contract with the New York Islanders. I couldn't be happier for Matt. You talk about type A, unbelievable, great person, him. Look at some of the interviews with Rempe, same kind of deal. And I'll take it one step further. I had the privilege, and every time I say this about a player that I coached, I consider it a privilege. Jimmy McKenzie was as tough as they came back in the day. He was as tough as they came. He works for Vegas now. Jimmy McKenzie is one of the nicest men I ever coached. Yep. I'm just telling you, he was. And when he had to flip the switch, though, he could flip it. Mm-hmm. And I remember one night he fought Timmy Hunter in Quebec. Oh my goodness gracious, man! Like that was scary stuff. And I'm just going to tell you, those guys are really, to me, they're special guys. And I have a lot of respect for all of them. And Jimmy, I did not know this because I thought people would have said, "Oh, good job by Rempe," but I had no idea you're telling people were going after him. That's too bad. That's too bad. Yeah. I hope the kid gets this from the media people and the Rangers because I know they watch this.
Yeah.
On the eye test, we're respect you a ton.
Yeah, he passes the eye test for sure. Yeah, but kudos to the Capitals. They're keeping it going. They're for real. They're going to be a tough out, and obviously too, there's a little revenge factor there. I know it was last year in the playoffs. That's in the back of their head.
What you're saying isn't wrong. They are coming out of the gate the way they had to come out. And see, this is the problem in the East. Because you got teams like Washington was life and death to make it last year, and they only made it because Dylan Larkin got hurt. Same with the Islanders. So look at it, Jimmy. Washington's off to a much better start than what people thought. The Islanders are not off to the same kind of start. Montreal's not off to the same kind of start. Ottawa, they're up and down, right? They're up and down. You never know what you're going to get. Detroit started slow, starting to pick up, then down again, so you don't know what you're getting, right, Jimmy? So
Boston's lost.
Boston.
They're an enigma.
There's something wrong.
There's something wrong, man.
There's something wrong. You can't and look we've always talked well about John Tortorella in Philadelphia. We respect what he's doing there, and we respect what Danny's doing there and what Keith Jones is doing there. We respect those guys. But you can't go on, if you're Philly, going to Boston and shut them out.
Yeah.
You can't do that, Jimmy. If you're Boston, that can't happen. Jimmy, that can't happen.
Yep. But what did I say yesterday when I was doing my pick of the day, Pierre? I said, stay away from that game.
You did? No. Yeah. You 100% did.
It was a trap game, and I was praying for Jimmy Montgomery's sake that they would come out of that with a win and they'd find their way. But they're just like, and look, Pierre, and you can go back, you go back and check our interviews last year, specifically the one we had with Andy Brickley during the Toronto series. No, against Florida.
Florida.
And, we were all in unison of what we think of Charlie McAvoy, that we do think he's an elite NHL defenseman. And I got to say it right now, Charlie McAvoy is not himself right now. Something is going on. I don't know what it is. But he just doesn't even look like a shadow of himself right now up here. And it's tough to watch because he gets the puck and he just doesn't seem to have confidence with it. He's pausing, he's hesitating, he'll cough it up. There's something going on there. And I don't know if it's going to take, maybe it's, a former Bruin, maybe Ray Bourque needs to sit down with him or something and just, or go on the ice with him and just shoot the breeze, air it out. Something like, they need to do something like that. And don't tell anybody about it. But get to him. Sit with the kid. What's going on, Charlie? How can we help you? What do we got to do here? Because he is lost right now.
Well, it's either Raymond does that or Donnie does that.
Even Donnie's a defenseman.
Donnie can just say, "Why don't you come over for dinner with your wife? Come over to the house for dinner. Let's talk." I've seen this. I'm not going to tell you the players. I've seen this before. I've done it before with coaches way better than me, and it works. Sometimes showing the players that you love them is not such a bad thing. Hey, Jimmy, we've talked enough. I want to get Belle on here.
Let's get her on her, making her debut on the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. She covers the Utah Hockey Club for the Salt Lake City Tribune, but she's a Boston, I believe, Massachusetts, right, Belle?
I'm actually from New York, but
from New York. Okay, but you went to BU. Yeah.
I have a Massachusetts driver's license. So.
All right. We'll say that's enough.
The best news for Belle is she's in Utah. She's not paying taxes in Massachusetts anymore.
Yeah.
Yes. Cost of living is shockingly lower when you leave the East Coast.
Just a little bit, Belle.
Just a little bit. Just a little. Belle Frasier's here. It's her first year on the job out there. Congratulations, Belle. How is it going?
Thank you. I mean, it's going great on the job side. Obviously, Utah has hit a bit of a rut here. Monday, I think, was the culmination of a lot of in-game problems they've been having. Gave up 3 goals in 1 minute and 50 seconds at the end of the third period against the San Jose Sharks, who had lost 9 straight coming into that game, and then gave it up in overtime on home ice. So I think tonight they play the Calgary Flames, who are coming off of 3 consecutive losses, and it's going to be big. Those are 2 desperate teams, and I think Utah is probably a little embarrassed right now and wants to, show themselves and their home crowd that they can close out a game. So, yeah, the team got off to a hot start. It was a really fun storyline, beating the Rangers at MSG on their opening night, same with the Islanders, and 16 goals in 3 games. And now you're seeing the growing pains of a team in its 4th year of the rebuild. So, but honestly, all positive from the Utah side of things. And it's been a blast to kind of be covering this historic season for the team.
Belle, one of the things that was really apparent the other night in that loss you're talking about was San Jose and how quickly San Jose scored face-off losses. 2 of them by Stenlund, 1 of them by Alexander Kerfoot, players that I know really well. Was that addressed by the coaching staff? Was it addressed by the media? Was it brought up? Because those are little things that matter a lot. And I know John Madden, the assistant coach there, really well. He would not have liked that. He would have probably taken that personally.
Yeah, so that was actually kind of shocking because in their game prior, they were 60% from the dot, and Stenlund himself was 70%, I believe. Going into that game, he led the team with faceoff wins at a cumulative 63%, I believe. So I don't put it on the coaches because if you need a guy to win a faceoff, you go to the guy who's leading the team in faceoff wins, So I think the fact that he lost those 2 faceoffs obviously were an issue, but I think maybe the other guys on the ice were thinking he was going to win it, so they weren't covering. You saw the goal that I think Tyler Toffoli scored to tie the game, and he's just wide open by the left circle because Utah's going back behind the net thinking that they're going to clear the puck, but they lost the faceoff. So I think that's definitely something they talk about. You can't lose 3 defensive zone faceoffs when you're defending 3 goal, then 2 goal, then 1 goal lead. But yeah, I think that wasn't a greater topic just because it's actually been somewhere they've thrived this season. Like in their other games, like, oh, they lost again, but they were great at the dot and like X, Y, and Z scored their first goal this season. And that's something, I mean, the wheels just completely fell off. Like it's a meltdown. I think when you're going through something like that, everything that started working for you earlier just stops. I think that's something they have to address and address that in all areas of their game, honestly, after something like Monday.
Belle, I'm wondering, from what you've gathered so far and from when they got there till now, have you sensed a sense of relief collectively from this roster that they don't have to worry about all the, where are we going to be playing next year? Where's the arena going to be? What's going to happen with the team? Just that they can go out there and play hockey. Have you sensed that amongst the roster?
For sure. That's something that they've directly talked about too. We asked them coming in, they have their temporary training facility now at the Utah Olympic Oval, but for being put together in 3 to 4 months, they have their own locker room. They have their weight room. They have real NHL ice there with their logo on it. And then the Delta Center too, that's going to undergo constructions in the summers and the off season to make it, fully fit for NHL because it was built for the NBA. But that's a consistent rink they're going back to every home game with consistent fan base and ownership in Ryan Smith, who they have said has done everything they asked. When he first acquired the team, he had a players only meeting with them and he said, make me a list of what you guys need in Utah that you didn't have in Arizona. And talking to Clayton Keller and Lawson Krause, part of the leadership group to start the season, they said they followed up on all of that. And Krause said too, it's easy to say that a hockey player is just a hockey player, but when you're a father and you're a husband and you're a son and your family's asking you, where are we going to be next year? What's going on with your team? And you don't have the answers, it can be distracting. So I think for them, their main focus is, Ryan Smith will handle the rest of it. And we're just focused on winning and building the best product we can put on the ice. And that has to be a relief. I think you're probably not seeing the results you want now, but the fact that they can just go home and care about why they lost and what they can do to be better instead of uprooting their entire life. And at the end of the season, I think that goes miles for the mental side of the game.
What's the identity of the Utah Hockey Club right now?
I don't know if they fully know yet. I think that's what's hard, but also what's exciting about a team like this. You have so many young guys who are just coming into their own individually, and then they'll learn where they fit in the system. Doan just got sent to the AHL, but they had a second line of Josh Doan, Logan Cooley, and Dylan Guenther the other night, and that's an average age of 21 years old. So I think it's a lot of learning, but I think what they do know is they're fast. They can basically outskate any team they play against. It's just how to use that speed. And I think something that really hurt their identity going into this season, they focused a lot on their back end. General manager Bill Armstrong brought in Sergachev, Ian Cole, Bertuzzo. He extended Sean Dursey, got John Marino, and now Sean Dursey is out 4 to 6 months, shoulder surgery. John Marino's out 3 to 4 months with lower back surgery. And I think when you go into the season thinking you're going to be one thing, which is a team that can play shutdown defense, and suddenly, Michael Kesselring is on your first pair, which he's done a great job stepping up into that role. But I think it's hard when you kind of have to be creative within the first 10 games of the season. And they traded for Ollie Mata last night. He's supposed to make his debut tonight in Utah. But I think they're figuring that out. In the beginning of the season, I would say they're a high-flying offensive flair team, and then they scored 2 regulation goals in 4 games after that. So, I think they're still figuring out a solid identity, but coach preaches it. They want to be hardworking. They don't want teams to come in thinking it's going to be an easy night playing Utah, and they want to rely on their young talent. They want to embrace it. So I think you'll kind of start to see more of a Utah brand of hockey as the season goes on. But yeah, they're working with the ups and downs right now, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shapes up.
I want to ask you about one player, but I'm going to play an important clip that I'm sure he's going to remember for the rest of his life right now. So let's go to this clip right now for the Utah Hockey Club.
Opening period of the opening game for the Utah Hockey Club in their inaugural season. Kesselring carries it across, drops one, shot, score! Dylan Guenther lights the lamp! Utah on the board first, their first ever goal by number 11.
Okay, so we all know that Clayton Keller coming in is pretty much the star guy there in Utah. But from afar right now, because I follow your stuff and I like watching his team, I stay up for them, he seems to be developing into quite the fan favorite there in Utah. Am I misreading this?
No, he's definitely one of them. Surprising, I guess not surprising. Liam O'Brien is randomly one too. He came in
He's an Irishman. I mean, come on, Paul. He's an Irishman.
So there's spicy tuna chants at the games every night, even when he's not playing. But yeah, Dylan Guenther, I think, is completely under the radar around the league. He came into training camp with Arizona last year and didn't make the team. He spent more than half of the season in the AHL, and then they called him up towards the end of the year, and he never really looked back. And then he comes into this season and signs a $54 million contract. And Bill Armstrong talked about it. He said that's the new NHL. When you have talent, you have to lock it up early. I think in the past, you would have seen Guenther play out his entry level, maybe sign a bridge deal to prove that he's worth that. And some people were questioning it, signing a kid to an 8-year deal when he's played 47 games in the NHL before this season. But he came in, and I thought it was it was a nice story for the journalist to have, that he signs his extension after being cut from the team last year and gets the first franchise goal. And he got a second, I think it was an empty netter in that game. And then went on a 5-goal streak from there, scored his 6th. Last game. He had a bit of a drought, if you can call it that, after the beginning of the season. But yeah, that's someone that is going to be a core piece of this team moving forward. And he's only 21. The fact that he's, a staple top 6 winger for this team in his first full pro season, and is being given this responsibility and trust from management, evidently, that they're willing to invest that much money in him. And he's, he is a 21-year-old guy. Like, it's funny, I covered BU, and I was saying it feels like you're talking to a college player because he's that old. He's just happy to be.
He'd be a freshman for a lot of teams in college.
Yeah, right. Like, he's just he obviously can talk about the game very well technically, but he's really just like joyous to be in the NHL. He's like, I've dreamed of doing this my whole life. I'm exactly where I want to be. Like, I'm going to try to score goals, and I like playing with my line mates. Like that. He's kind of a no nonsense kid, and he wants to make the team better. And I think with him too, you're going to see him go up and down. He had a 12-day, 4-game streak without scoring, and then he got it back on Monday. So I would put everyone on high alert that Dylan Guenther is going to be one of the bigger names in the NHL in the coming years.
Well, we agree. And one thing that Belle said, Jimmy, that I want to reinforce with our viewers and listeners, when you have a potential superstar player like Guenther, giving them a bridge contract costs you tens of millions of dollars that you wouldn't have to have spent. You have to identify the star early. Belle made a great point. Identify the star early, get them signed so you don't have to live with that bridge. Because if you have to live with a bridge on a superstar player, I can show you, document it. It costs you
PK Subban, ring a bell?
PK Subban's one of the top exhibits of that. So, Belle, you're BU lady, so I want to ask you. Just word association, okay? Don't make it long. Clayton Keller.
BU.
What else?
Come on.
No, like what?
Captain of your team, but give me like Clayton Keller. What's he like to deal with?
Oh, he's great. I mean, I think, of course, my first thing is he's a Terrier. That was like one of the first conversations we had. But I think he's coming into his own as a captain. He's only 26 years old, and this team hadn't had a captain for 3 seasons leading up to this year. But I think he said that too yesterday after a loss like that. He's like, we've been in losing streaks before, but now I'm kind of the voice that people turn to. And he said he's harder on himself than anyone else. And I think you see that. His teammates have said that too. Like, Keller is hard on us, but it's because he cares, and it's because he wants this team to be better. And when he became captain, I talked to, his coaches from all levels of hockey at Shattuck, at the program. Shout out Bernie Corbett from BU Radio, that talked about Clayton Keller and just his character. And he was a winner at every level. And the first thing people talked about was his compete level. And Utah has really made an emphasis on they want to turn a corner this year. And everyone has kind of said Clayton Keller has the type of mindset that'll kind of get us over that gap and make us play meaningful games towards the end of the year. And you see it in his game. He's a smaller size player. He was always undersized growing up. And he said it kind of made him work 2 times harder. And his dad always told him, you're going to have to work 2 times harder than the guy next to you. And he's done that, and it's brought him great success. And it's nice that when a guy's an all-star and the best guy on your team, he doesn't lose that grit and grind to him. And especially after, snapping his leg in the corner too a couple seasons ago, he's come back and he still has that same tenacity and kind of just will to win that you need out of a captain. But again, 26 years old. So it's almost overused, but it is just a growing pain couple years until this team is at their full potential. But I think that's what's exciting for the Utah fans and what's sad for the Arizona fans is they're coming out of it now. They have good cap space. They have a lot of great prospects, a lot of young players, and it's kind of up from here after the Arizona fans had to watch them be in the darkest days. So, but I think that, Keller's part of that, and he's going to lead that team to, the places that they think they will go.
Jimmy, the Bean Pot's the first 2 Mondays of February every year.
Mhm.
There are
Yes.
2 dates you can book. So the only team that I think has 4 players from the 4 Bean Pot schools are the Utah Hockey Club. They've got, we just talked about Keller.
Yep.
Alexander Kerfoot's a Harvard guy. Jack McBain's a BC guy. And I know this pains Belle very much, but Michael Kesselring's a Northeastern guy. I think they're the only team in the NHL. Belle, you should do a column on this. They're the only team in the NHL that has 4 guys playing for their NHL team that are Bean Pot players.
Yeah,
Wow.
I actually talked to Kessering about that because when they were playing Boston, he's from New Hampshire and grew up a Bruins fan.
New Hampton prep. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. So, of course, if someone gives me the space to ask about college hockey in Boston, I'm going to. But, he actually beat Jack McBain's BC team his freshman year in the Bean Pot, which is funny. That those two faced off in that. But yeah, they said around February, there's definitely some chirps and bets in the locker room. They head to Boston later this month. I wish they were there for February. I feel like that would have been good content for the 4 of them. But yeah, it is funny that there is all 4 schools. I can't think, maybe there's one other team, but it's rare.
I don't think there are. I mean, there's a lot that are redundant. Like there might be a couple BU guys on a team. There might be a couple BC guys on a team. But I don't think all 4 are
Northeastern,
on one.
I feel like is hard to add into the mix sometimes. But
We're getting
you better
there.
be careful there, young lady. You better be
who
careful.
the son plays for, right?
You better be careful.
Brian McGuire, my friend. Hey, Belle, how much do you miss that hockey atmosphere, though, in Boston? I know it's a growing atmosphere there, and I can tell that they do know their hockey there in Utah, but do you miss it a lot?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think covering BU and the Bruins last year, I knew this was always what I wanted to do, but getting able to do it, up close and personal and be part of that program and, 2 Frozen Fours and then a really cool run with the Bruins last year, I think kind of reaffirmed and kind of my passion for it and gave me a lot of great experience that I don't think I would have gotten if I wasn't in school in Boston. And I mean, there's nothing like the passion that Massachusetts people have for hockey, maybe Minnesota, but, I think I'm biased. But yeah, I think having that experience, it's cool and really, touching, but like exciting to see this Utah community get to experience that too. They have NBA and know how to be sports fans with college football, but I think the NHL is different and the memories that come with that, we all have so many of them. So it's really cool seeing people be introduced to the game for the first time. And, they already care a lot about it. So I can only imagine that gets more and more as the team is here longer and gets more successful. But yeah, for now, they were probably for the Bruins game here, maybe 60% Bruins fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Belle, you crushed this. We cannot thank you enough. You were outstanding. We hope you'll come back. Thank you so much. Enjoy your time out there in Utah. I was there for the entire 2002 Winter Olympics.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. It was just a phenomenal Winter Games, and I know they're going back there pretty soon.
34, yeah.
Yeah. So not too far down the road. It seems like a long way, but 10 years goes fast, especially when you're old like me.
Trust us. And me.
You keep kicking butt out there, Belle. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Belle Frasier joined us here on the eye test from the Salt Lake City Tribune. She's on her way, Pierre. I knew when I met her. She knows her stuff. She's a hard worker and she gets it. So
passion for the game, Jimmy. Passion for the game. And I'm willing to bet, Jimmy, that she will do a Bean Pot story about those 4 guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, she will. Yeah.
I just love seeing younger people coming into the business that didn't cheat to get into the business, Jimmy.
Yep.
Like she worked her tail off at BU. She worked her tail off for the Bruins. She worked hard to get this opportunity. Somebody just didn't roll over and say, "Oh, hey, by the way, here's a microphone. Go do that." She didn't do that. And I really respect her professionalism. She's gifted at this, and she can have a heck of a career. She is.
For sure. And it's good too. I like, she's up on the rise just as the team's going on the rise too, and it can grow together. So I think that's a good synergy there going on there with her and that team. So we will keep track on that. Pierre, do you want to get right to our Q&A? You want to touch base quickly on Boston?
I want you to do your stuff on Betway because that's really important. Because I think we're going
let's
to
get to that, and we're going to talk about the Friendship 4 too.
Yep, go for it. You go Betway, I'll do Friendship 4.
All right, so we're going to get to Betway right now. As you know, let's pull it up there right now. Our good friends over there, they are the leading online gambling. I almost had it memorized. Betway is the leading global online betting and gaming brand. You'd think I know it by now. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. You can go right there with that QR code if you're watching here right now, or you can go to the website. And remember, when you sign up, you must be 18 plus and always gamble responsibly. I'm on a bit of a losing streak right now, but I did warn everybody there, stay away from that Philly-Boston game because I knew a lot of people would just jump on Boston right away. So I hope you did do that. But I'm going to stick with the topic we were just discussing, the Utah Hockey Club hosting the Calgary Flames. As Belle so perfectly pointed out, 2 desperate clubs looking to turn it around a bit right now. I'm smelling overtime, Pierre. And if you can go right now to Betway, let me look it up. If you bet it's called the draw. So if you ever want to bet that a game's going to go to overtime in hockey, it's called the draw. And if you go right now to bet the draw in Calgary at Utah tonight, you will get plus 320. That's some very nice value there. I think this game's going to be a back and forth game, and they're going to see some extra time, maybe even a shootout there. So that is Murph's pick of the day, the draw in Utah with Calgary. All right, Pierre, why don't you tell us about the Friendship 4?
Well, we're getting ready to go over to Dublin and then up to Belfast, and we're going to fly to Dublin on Aer Lingus, set up by our friends at Cara Travel, Sarah Stanton, and then we're going to take the train up. We're going to spend the night at the Hyatt Centric down in downtown Dublin, and I'm going to show Jimmy around the Liffey River and a bunch of different places. I think he'll have a good time, but not until we finish our show. We're going to do our show from Dublin, and then we'll take the train up, and we'll be working at the Harp Bar up in Belfast, which will be great. Want to thank Robert Fitzpatrick of the Odyssey Group, Stevie Thornton, the general manager of the Belfast Giants, and Martin McDowell, who's a big part of hockey up in that part of Ireland.
Yes,
and so
we're really,
Jimmy and I are really grateful. We can't wait to get there. And we'll be dealing with the coaches and the players and the teams once we're over there. We will be the voice for the Friendship 4. We'll be the only people over there from North America covering it, from top to bottom. And we're really excited about it. And we're really grateful to Sarah Stan and everybody at Cara Travel for helping us out.
And just a reminder, too, and we'll remind you as we get closer, for you here on the East Coast in North America, we will be on at 9 a.m. for that week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No show on Friday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. Here on the East Coast. Going to be even a little earlier for you West Coast folks. Sorry, but hey, you know what? We have a lot of fans here in the chat room, Pierre, that watch us from Scotland and Northern Ireland and Ireland and England that will be in that time zone. So they're happy that they can listen to us at a reasonable hour one. So I look forward to hopefully meeting some of them. I just saw right there, there's a post from Curtis Alt. If we can pull it up, guys. I don't know if you see it. Looking forward to the Friendship 4. It's a train stop from my house. I'll be going to the BU Notre Dame game. There we go.
Curtis, you better come to the Harp Bar and see Jimmy and I. We'd look forward to seeing you. Love to see you.
Come on down. Come on down. The first pint's on us. Come on down. All right. So we're looking forward to that. Let's get to the Q&A. What do we got? Alex Ivanowski. I got to give the Wild a lot of credit, and Guerin. They look like they are coming out on the other side of the Parise and Suter contracts. They look like a legit contender in the Central. Do you agree? Yes, Alex, I agree. And I definitely think they deserve a ton of credit. I kind of felt like maybe this would still be a tough year. And then, they'd come out next year when those the weight of those contracts are gone. But good on them. And, man, you look at Kaprizov right now. If you were going at the quarter mark, I think he's going to be in the Hart conversation when we reach like American Thanksgiving. He is playing out of his mind. And, of course, as Pierre has pointed out, Gustafsson has been unreal.
Yeah, Phil has been good. Marc-Andre was very good last night in an emotional
game. That was cool, huh?
Obviously,
see Letang and Crosby wait for him?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
How Sid is. That's how Christopher is. Those are the three musketeers. Those guys are tight. The other thing that I think is really important there, Johnny Hines. Billy Guerin deserves a lot of credit for his vision. Ray Shiro is a senior advisor, but Johnny Hines, the coach, deserves a lot of credit there. We've talked about Brock Faber ad nauseum on this show. Brock Faber is going to be a star player in the league for a long time. He is the real deal. It was a tremendous acquisition. He was originally drafted by LA. They traded Kevin Fiala to get Brock Faber. We were telling you about Brock Faber way before Brock Faber was even a name that people in the NHL knew. And so he's just special. Marco Rossi has really now proven that he should have been a first-round pick. Playing with Kaprizov and playing with Zuccarello, that's a really good line. Foligno's been a great leader for them, both physical, fast, and also verbally. There's a lot to like there. And the state of hockey is really the state of hockey. And when they smell that their teams are doing well, that building's going to be rocking. The XL Energy Center will be rocking. So I'm pumped for them. I'm really pumped for ownership there too. Mr. Leopold's been through a lot. I'm really happy for him, and I'm thrilled to death for Billy and for John Hines and for Ray Shero.
John Hines, what a job he's doing, man. What a job by John Hines.
Another BU guy. Belle would love that.
There we go.
BU guy.
Good stuff. All right, what do we got next? Renaissance Resistor. Hey, guys, just wondering what your thoughts are on Josh Anderson. Should the Habs waive him to send a message to the rest of the team? Would there be anyone interested in him or Dvorak? Thanks. I'm going to just give a quick answer to your questions. Would anyone be interested right now? I don't think so. I think no and no.
No and no. Contracts are too steep, and I know Josh scored last night, but just no and no. Josh's going to have to figure out what he's going to be. If he's not going to be a scorer, what's he going to be? And he's got to figure that out. He's got to figure that out. And I have nothing against Dvorak. I know it's been tough for him in Montreal. I know that. It's not his fault that he got that money. Nobody would have turned that money down. He got overpaid for the job that he does. He just did. And so it's a problem. It's just a problem for him.
Pierre, I always think back, and I brought it up here before, a perfect example of what I think needs to happen with both those players. They should go back and look what Marty Lapointe did in Boston when he came in and he had that contract that, was not signed really based on what he could be to the team. There's a lot of things that went into it I don't want to get into, but it was just an overpay. We can agree on that. But instead of, sulking or trying, saying, well, I gotta be a high scorer because of the money I'm making, he said, no, I'm going to just be what I am. And I'm going to go out there and contribute with what I can to this team. And he became a leader. He became a great PK player, which he already was. And he found a role in the team. And that's what these guys need to do. Like you just said right now, they still can play hockey. You still can help this team. It's just, you got to figure out how.
Marty Lapointe to me was a phenomenal player. He was a 9th overall pick. The only reason I know that so many years ago is I was blown away by how competitive he was. We were very interested in drafting him when I was in Pittsburgh. Detroit took him early. I give them a lot of credit because Marty didn't skate great, but he had really good hands and he was tough as nails. And the biggest thing is you knew he was going to play. He had the 3 C's. He had courage, he had character, and he was coachable. Those 3 C's matter a lot. And so I'm a big fan of his, and he's done an outstanding job with the Canadiens as a scout now. And, I just hope that they can get it going here so people can see how good a scout he is. But no, you're right on. That's a really good point. Both those players need to identify what they're going to be the rest of this year in Montreal.
You know what, Pierre? I'm great. I totally forgot he's with the Canadiens. As I said that, he's right there. They need to pick his brain. Go pick his brain. He's right there. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb. Don Sweeney should be on the hot seat. I know I've said this before. If you're asking us if I agree, Gabe, I think he needs to be held accountable. I'm not ready to give up on this team yet. I think there's potential to turn it around. They just got to figure it out really soon. But I think it's unfair that Jim Montgomery's getting all the blame. I mean, he didn't put the roster together, but I also don't think Don Sweeney's a bad GM. He's done a phenomenal job over his whole body of work as a GM for the Bruins. These signings right now just haven't worked, but they can still figure it out. There's still time.
I'm pumped to go watch Boston's farm team play on Friday and Saturday in Laval. Providence is up there. I'm going to be getting a scouting report on their game tonight. Providence is playing in Belleville, a team that I used to be part of running. So I'm really looking.
Playing tonight, maybe.
I don't know the
Former
answer.
Providence Bruin.
Don't know the answer to that. But no, I think that I'm looking forward to that because Donnie's done some really good work with their scouts to get players. Mason Lowry is going to be a really good player.
Yeah.
Going to be a really good player. People,
Yep.
it's not like if a guy's 21 or 22 and he's not a superstar, it's not a knock on the guy. Like it takes time.
Yeah.
It really does. It takes time. So, anyways,
Yeah.
I don't think Donnie's at fault here. I just think the Bruins are going through a different time in their history because they lost 3 really important guys in Zdeno Chara, obviously Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci. Those are 3 massively important guys.
Yep. And they kind of avoided that transition period, so to speak, Pierre. I mean, and it would have been natural if it happened 2 years ago. It would have been natural if it would have been okay if it happened last year. Eventually it was going to happen. And maybe it's just happening right now. And this is just the cycle of life, you know? All right. Next question. Bill Van Vagel. What does Montreal do with their goaltending? Just when you think Montembeault is a solid, he pulls a stinker like last night. Do they stick with Monty, trade for a vet, draft someone, and bridge the gap? They've got a guy coming that Pierre likes.
Jacob Fowler's on the way. Don't worry about where their goaltender is going to be. By the time they're ready to start winning, Jacob Fowler is going to be the guy. You don't need to worry about that. I've always thought Montembeault was a 1B, not a 1A. Probably more like a 2. Same thing with Primo. This is where they are. I mean, they traded Jake Allen. They got an asset for an older player, which was great. Jake's in a perfect position in New Jersey right now for him, so they treated him with respect. And they extended Montembeault at a digestible number, which I think is great. So, no, they're fine. I wouldn't be worried. And, again, I'm going to see one of their top prospects in goal play on Friday and Saturday, I hope. So I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah.
Pierre, I want to ask you too, and maybe you'll be able to tell me after this weekend. Is there a sense of rivalry between Providence and Laval, or is that just at the NHL level? Is it hard in the AHL to do that?
They're not in the same division, so it makes it a little different. Belleville's the Laval-Belleville thing's got a lot of smoke to it.
That's what I heard.
The Toronto Laval thing's got a lot of smoke to it. The Rochester Laval thing, that's Buffalo's farm team. And Utica and Laval, all that division is pretty tough. It's hard edged. I can tell you, it's not for shrinking violets. So no, I don't think it's the same, even though it's Boston, Montreal. I don't think it's as much.
Right, because they're not in the division. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, next question. Alex Ivanovsky. I've watched a lot of Marc-Andre Fleury career, especially when he was in Pitt. I think him going to Vegas was the best thing to happen to him. He found his game there. From 2012 to 2017 in Pitt, it wasn't good. Agree. I didn't say it wasn't good. It wasn't what we were used to for him.
Let's just go easy. 2012 to 2017 and 16, they won the Stanley Cup, and he still played, even though a lot of people are going to say, oh, that was Matt Murray's cup. Murray played more. I'd cede you that.
Yeah, but he came in.
That's what I'm saying. Same thing in 17. Marc-Andre had to come in and bail him out, in different situations, especially in the Ottawa series. So I don't agree with that. I usually do agree with what most of that questioner asks. Alex. He makes really good statements, Evan. But I would say there were issues with the Penguins. It wasn't just the goalie. And that's why, Ray Shero moved on to New Jersey. Jimmy Rutherford came in. But if you look at the first 2 years of Jimmy Rutherford, until they got Mike Sullivan there, that whole thing was in a quandary. It was messy. Mike Sullivan bailed them out there. You can go look it up. It's not revisionist history. They got lucky because Mike was coaching down in the American Hockey League in Wilkes-Barre, and things were not going good. When Mike took the team over, Jimmy, I did one of their first games. It was in Boston, and I want to say they were 8 or 9 points out of a playoff spot at that time, and it was right around Christmas. It was just after U.S. Thanksgiving. I was like, oh, boy. If they don't get on a winning streak here, they're going to miss the playoffs, and it's going to get messy. It's going to get really messy in Pittsburgh.
Yep. All right, next question. Energized DD. Hot take. Tim Stützle is better than Jack Hughes. What do you guys think? Timmy with 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points, and a +3 so far. I disagree respectfully. Maybe currently as we speak, he's having a better season, but overall, I see a better chance of a Stanley Cup ring on Jack Hughes first than I do on Tim.
It has nothing to do with the Stanley Cup ring, and I don't usually disagree with my partner. I'm a huge Stützle fan. Now, I also want to be
you got to know him
transparent.
better than me.
I know the Hughes family really well. I had the mother in hockey camp when she was a young lady before she went to the University of New Hampshire, and I coached against the father when he was playing at Providence. So I've known the family a long time. I'm a big fan of the families, and the uncle was a teammate of my brother's at Bowdoin. So I again respect the Hughes family a ton. I think Tim Stützle is a superstar, and it doesn't mean that Jack Hughes isn't a superstar. But I think Tim Stützle is going to have a massive year this year. He's one of my favorites from Ottawa. I think the world of the kid as a person and also as a player. His work habits are impeccable, Jimmy. Impeccable. You know, I was usually one of the first guys in the rink there. Stützle wasn't very – Jack Capuano and myself were probably the earliest guys in there. And then Stützle wasn't far behind. I can tell you that. He was – I really liked Timmy a lot. So how about this? They're equal.
Okay. Fair enough.
They're both going to be huge impact players.
All right. Let's go. Next question. Postnet on 1:30 question. Dvorak sent it to Chuck and Marner in the OHL with the London Knights. He had great success. Would playing with better players help Dvorak?
So that's a really good point, and it's really useful. You know, it's a lot like Elias Lindholm when he had his best seasons in Calgary in the NHL. Played with Matthew Tkachuk and the late Johnny Gaudreau. He's never been close to that since, you know, Johnny left to go to Columbus and Matthew got traded. Elias Lindholm's never been the same point-wise, not even close. And so the one thing I'd say about Christian is I watched him a lot in Arizona too, and I saw him play for London. I think he's more of a checker. I don't think he's as much of a point producer at the NHL level, so he's got to figure out a way to make himself relevant in that checking role. And so far, he hasn't been able to in Montreal. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but so far he hasn't been able to do it. I don't think the offensive numbers in pro hockey are going to be very friendly for him.
Yep. All right, next question. Bill Van Vega, will we ever see referees wear their names in their jerseys again, or are they autonomous beings? I miss knowing their names and them showing their personalities. I'm with you, Bill. I agree. I wouldn't mind it.
I've been saying this for about 10 years now. Bothers the heck out of me. You know what? When Kerry Fraser was working, he didn't wear a hat. You loved that pompadour hair. You know, everybody knew him. When Paul Stewart was refereeing, everybody knew who Paul Stewart was. When Billy McCreary was refereeing, he had the big, mustache. Everybody knew who he was, and his name was on the back of his sweater. Andy Van Helleman, the same thing. I can go down the line. I'm so grateful for all the older officials that actually taught me a lot about the NHL game, and it meant so much to me, and I have so much respect for them. And they had their names on their sweaters. It wasn't numbers.
Yeah.
And I think we got to get back to the names.
I'm with you. Good idea, Bill. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, do you think these struggles for the Bruins might be good for them in the long run if they survive and make the playoffs? I think the past two regular seasons have gone too well to a certain degree. Alex, it's interesting you say that. I'm not sure if you caught, I think it was Thursday night. I forget who they lost to on Thursday. Drawing a blank.
Was that the Nashville? Is that the Nashville game?
No, the one after that. Home. Dallas.
They came home. Dallas
Stars. So after that loss to Dallas, Charlie McAvoy said to us, we've learned in the last two seasons that what you do in October doesn't mean anything in the spring. And it almost was like he's telling us, yeah, we're not going at full speed, not on purpose, but accidentally on purpose, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're just saying, look, we get these two starts that we had the last two seasons were great, but what did it get us? It didn't get us a Stanley Cup. So what does this mean right now? So that's a great question. And that I'm glad you brought that up here because I failed to mention that to you in our conversations the last few days. Do you think that is a mindset that they might be adopting? And if it is, it could be dangerous.
I don't think the coaches would be agreeing with that. I think they'd be thinking like you. So I hope they're not doing that. I can't think they're doing that. Charlie shouldn't be doing that. Brad shouldn't be doing that. I don't think so. I respect both those guys. No way.
Interesting comment.
It isn't it. I like that comment, but I don't see that being part of it right now. I think they're deficient down the middle, and everybody expected Marchand to bounce back after 3 major surgeries in the offseason. It's not that easy. It's just not that easy.
Especially the older you get. So, all right, next question. Charles, do you think Demidov might be a generational talent? I've watched all his games. In my opinion, the Habs lucked out to draft him at number 5. His goal today was special. Yeah, Charles, we're in agreement.
The goal today was elite. Charles, great point. I do think he's a generational. I thought he was going into the draft. I said it at the time. Again, this is coming from people that make their living scouting. Guys in the business are really nervous about Russian players. They're worried about their health. They're worried about whether they're going to be able to get out of the country or not. They're worried about their contract. They're worried about a lot of stuff. So when you're picking in the top 10 in particular, guys get nervous about that. And there were a lot of real good players in this draft. So am I surprised Montreal was able to get him? Yeah, Montreal had a heck of a draft this past summer. They really did. And Demidov's a big reason why.
Yep. All right, next question. Postnet 130. Currently, what are the most hated rivalries? Can Boston Montreal's current issues be addressed through a trade or two? Any shared stories on retired NHL players in men's leagues? So you think you asked us that yesterday? I don't know if it was you. We don't have any. But as far as I guess you're trying to say the most fierce rivalries. I don't know if the Bruins Montreal is there right now. It's still there, but I don't know if it's the top.
We were there. It wasn't. I didn't think there was much there.
I didn't feel it like that.
No, I didn't feel like there was either. The little dirty secret one is Ottawa-Toronto. Ottawa-Toronto is not a lot of fun.
Ottawa-Montreal can be interesting too.
Ottawa-Montreal can be. Vegas-Edmonton because of the playoffs. Dallas-Vegas has some jam and some pepper in the pot. Yeah, it's just where they are right now is a little different. Yeah. And you know what? The Vancouver-Edmonton thing's not a whole lot of lovely either.
No. And Tampa, Florida. Florida.
Everybody knows. That's
yeah. I'd like to see LA and Anaheim get going again. Those are some fun ones.
I did a bunch of those games back in the day. They were not for the faint of heart.
No, those are great. Those are great.
But people forget about that. Robin Regeer was a nasty guy. He's a really good player. He's a nasty guy. Dustin Brown in his day, in his prime, was the best physical forechecker in the league. He could absolutely blow guys up. It was unbelievable how hard he could hit guys. And Anaheim had a whole team of that, especially when Berkey was there, when Brian was there. He didn't want any shrinking violets. And one of Brian Burke's favorite lines is, I always make sure my team has enough nuclear deterrence.
I remember that. There we go. All right. I think we got one more question. What do we got? John Smith, can you see Florian X getting a look this year? Florian Jack.
Well, you know what? Remember that, Jimmy. I'm going to see him play twice this weekend, Friday, Saturday, live.
Yeah. You know what? Ask us again next week. We'll have a scouting report. Yep.
Yeah, and I saw him score his first goal the other day, and it was a great shot and it was a good play. I saw that. But I'll see him live. I'll be in the building, and I'll get a better idea where Florian is right now as a prospect.
All right, Charles had one more follow-up, guys, there on Demidov, if you want to pull it up. One more question about Demidov. I've watched podcasts where the hosts have suggested Demidov could be open to knee-on-knee injury due to his skating style. What do you think?
I think anybody that gets on an NHL ice surface is prone to get a knee-on-knee. It's not nearly as pronounced as it was when I was coaching.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now. It's not anywhere close. The league's done a very good job of trying to get that out of the game. Plus, the biggest thing is when you could trap it up back with the red line, guys coming across where lanes were locked, there were some issues. There were some it's not nearly as pronounced now. So I don't think so.
He's got to be himself.
Yeah, just go play. I wouldn't overthink that at all. He's a really talented kid.
When you think too much, you get hurt. That's what people say. So.
Hey, how about how good Belle was today? She was outstanding.
It was great. Yep, she just messaged us and said thank you, and thank you to her for joining us here. Check out her work at the Salt Lake City Tribune. She's also on Twitter. It's at Belle Frasier 1. So you can find her there as well. And thanks to
Jimmy, you know what's really cool today? You had Belle on, which we didn't rehearse, and I, obviously had seen her work in Boston. I was on Utah ESPN radio today for a half an
that's
hour
right.
with Sean
That's right. How'd it
O'Connell.
go? How'd it go?
Awesome. Sean is great. He's a Minnesota guy. He's a football player, but he loves hockey. He's a season ticket holder of the team. He lives, I think, in Sandy, Utah, which is right outside Salt Lake. He was awesome. You know, the passion for the game in that town right now is amazing. It's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I think the league, you know, they probably stayed in Arizona a bit too long, but this is going to be a home run for them. This is going to work out fantastically well for the players. It's going to be great for the league. And Ryan Smith, the owner there, he reminds me of Jeffrey Vinnick. And you know what I think of Mr. Vinnick.
That is
you know
high
what
praise.
I think of Mr. Vinnick, yes.
Yep.
I'm not
That's high
saying he is Mr. Vinnick, but he reminds me a lot of Mr. Vinnick.
Hey, that is high praise. Well, we will keep an eye on that as we go on this season and after that. But until then, you'll want to join us here tomorrow on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.